Okay, so our two new nuns gave me a whole list in small print of questions. Um, and they prefaced it by saying that, most of these have to do with the etiquette and with the 100 training rules that, they learn, even though they don't specifically have those, because those are in the Bhikshuni Pratimoksha. But they learn them. And they commented that they think it's better to start strictly, and then once you're well trained like that, if there's things where you have to modify according to the circumstance, then you modify. But if you start very loose, then it is much harder to, get your house in order afterwards. So I thought that was a very, very good preface. So I will try and answer these briefly. Okay, so first one, what's the proper way to confess precepts or training rules that I've transgressed? Do I confess every little transgressed training rule and precept literally, or do I just confess the precepts and training rules I have transgressed if I had a lousy motivation? If you do them, or if you have a lousy motivation doing them, either one you need to confess. Okay, with the training rules, because so many of those involve etiquette, you can also confess those to yourself. You don't have to do them at posada, although it is good to mention them at posada because then you have to own them publicly and it reminds you. Yeah. So if I walked with an umbrella, do I confess that as I literally transgressed it as written in the precepts, or would I not confess that because my intention was practical and just to keep from getting wet? Okay, I think in that situation, uh, you know, because the purpose of the precept, I think, was to keep people from getting arrogant, because in ancient India, if you were important, people carried a parasol over you. So I think if you're just doing it to keep from getting wet, good. Yeah. If you want to confess it and say that, that's fine, but I don't think that kind of thing is necessary. When I'm taking food from the offering shelf next to the walk-in and use that food for our teachers or for cooking lunch, is that stealing from the Buddha or the Sangha? Is that equivalent to transgressing the second Shikshamana training of stealing? Okay, first of all, to transgress the root precept of stealing, which is the second Shikshamana precept, you have to steal something that the government would get involved. I don't think if you took an apple or some yogurt that the police are going to come looking for you. But second of all, if you're serving your teacher, yeah, you check with who's ever in charge of the kitchen, and you say, is it okay if I come and get these things when my teacher runs out? And they say yes, and then you don't need to ask them every time you do that. You have blanket permission, okay? But that doesn't mean you can go and get something for yourself. Okay, serving our teachers is different than getting what we like ourselves without letting anybody know. Okay, the third of the four root trainings says not to deliberately take the life of any sentient being, even an ant. Okay, otherwise it's a serious misdeed. The third training of the six trainings says not to deliberately take the life of an animal or any creature. Otherwise, we should retake the Shikshamana training. So the third root and the third training sound similar, but they both have different consequences. Okay, so in the root, when it says don't take the life of any sentient being, including an ant, they're saying an ant for emphasis. It doesn't mean that you commit a root downfall if you kill an ant. okay, deliberately killing an ant or any other living being, an animal or an insect, then that is breaking the second part of that root, and you have to retake the shikshamana and start your 2 years all over again. Okay. How tightly do we hold the fourth shikshamana training about not deliberately lying to a group of people? Because sometimes during BBCs, I find myself saying something that doesn't accurately represent something, like I'm exaggerating, or I just have the habit of saying something that isn't totally true. It's not a flat out lie, but it's vague or inaccurate. Those kind of things is very, very good to notice in our speech. Yeah. And if you see yourself doing that, to actually confess that, because yeah, because if we don't, we just get sloppier and sloppier, and then pretty soon we wind up like who, saying all sorts of big fat lies. Okay, so we try and keep our speech as accurate as we possibly can. That doesn't mean we have to tell every single detail of everything. Yeah, that can be overload. Okay. If I say something, but the other person misunderstood it, and I did not explain or say something, or if I say something in BBC, which is my view, but do I have to dig the facts and support it with facts? I'm not sure I understand this totally, but I'll give it a shot. Okay, you say something the other person misunderstood. It's good if you say, oh, I must not have explained that accurately. Yeah. If you say to other people, you misunderstood because you don't listen very well, they don't like that. And they won't listen to you. But if you say, I didn't explain that very well, so here's what I really meant when I said that, then that's good. That clears up whatever the misunderstanding was. Yeah. And then if you say something that's your view or your opinion, do you have to dig up the facts? Well, it depends on what your view or opinion is based. If it has some factual evidence, then that's good. Of course, everybody's factual evidence can be a little bit different, but if you're just making up something because it sounds good, then you better go and do some research and make sure your speech is being accurate. Did I get the essence of that? Okay. If I eat with attachment, do I confess? If I ate at inappropriate times, but do with the intention of keeping healthy, do I confess? For example, medications at night or supplements in the morning. You don't confess. Taking supplements in the morning isn't a transgression. Yeah, you can eat from, daybreak until midday. Yeah, so if you eat in the evenings and you have the intention, it's for your health, I still confess it. Yeah, I think it's good just to confess it and make it known. And then if we do eat with attachment at other times, that too is good to confess. I don't know about other people, but I mostly eat with attachment. So I would have to kind of say that every time after every meal. So sometimes, I just assume everybody knows that because I want more, where's this, where's that? So they kind of know I'm eating with attachment. If I am being accused, I don't always explain because I want to remove the attachment to reputation, or it's nothing, life and death. I don't have to explain so much. Is that lying? If you're being accused and somebody else, because they misinterpreted something, or you didn't give correct information, or who knows, or communication was lacking, it's good to explain that. to somebody, because if they're angry, you don't want them to sit there and continue to be angry. Okay, so you're doing it for their benefit so that they don't accumulate the negative karma of being angry. Yeah, you're not just you're not doing it, or you shouldn't be doing it, just to protect your own reputation. But if there's a misunderstanding and you know it and you don't explain it because you're trying not to be attached to your reputation, then you're not going to have a very good relationship with that other person because you don't clarify your communication. Okay, so clarifying communication is, don't worry about your reputation at that point. Many people, you can tell if somebody is worried about their reputation because they definitely get defensive. Somebody misinterpreted, accused them, or they did do something and said that, and it's like, oh, you don't understand, blah, 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 and they want to tell you a story for 10 minutes about how they are innocent. Then somebody is attached to their reputation because they're defensive. But if somebody can see, oh, there was a misunderstanding, then you do it to just clear the air and have a good relationship with that person. Yeah, and to keep them from, remaining angry. Holy objects such as a mala should not be placed on our belt that is to be used to tie our shemdab, as I don't want to create the cause for not respecting holy objects. Is this considered too tight? I don't really consider my mala a holy object. A statue, yes. A Buddha, a text, definitely yes. Okay, my mala I don't take in the bathroom, yeah, unless it is a clean bathroom and I have the mala in my pocket and I know that if I leave it outside, I could very well forget it or it could get dropped and lost. Okay, but if you're going in someplace dirty, then don't bring it with you. Yeah, many people keep their mala on their belt. I don't think that's a problem. Some people do it around their neck or on their wrists. We do not do that at the Abbey, because it's too easy to start regarding it as jewelry. And you have a flashy, what was that? A bright green sparkling mala. Oh, she had a good one. So you don't want to have that around your neck, or and it's flashing all around. Or some people like to kind of proclaim, well, I'm a yogi, and so I have my mala around my neck. And no, in the thought training teachings it really emphasizes be very humble and don't go around boasting and bragging and making yourself into some big thing. Yeah, the tendency to do that is the people at the beginning, yeah, who want to feel like, oh, now I want people to know how much I practice or whatever it is. Okay. If we are not clear on Tantra, its purposes, what vows or level of Tantra we are taking, its meaning, and so forth, even if we take the generation stage and do all the commitments, it's not considered. Is this understanding accurate? First of all, you don't take the generation stage, you take an empowerment. The empowerment gives you the permission to do the generation stage and the completion stage, okay? But if you don't understand Tantra, its purposes, you don't know what ethical restraints or commitments you're taking, then I don't, if people don't, I said that before, if you weren't present and consciously taking the ethical restraints and the commitments, then you haven't taken the empowerment. If you haven't taken the empowerment, you cannot read or learn about generation stage or practice completion stage. Okay, so in 1996, I said, I don't remember it, but somebody else does. Robes for monastics vary in color and styling from culture to culture, reflecting adaptations to climate and social conditions over the centuries. In the Tibetan tradition, the robes for monks and nuns include a maroon lower robe called the shemdap, a maroon shawl called the zen, a maroon vest called the dunka, and a yellow robe called the chugu, which is worn on special occasions. The shemdap, zen, and donka are worn from the moment one wakes up in the morning until going to bed at night, even when going to the toilet. You don't have to get dressed the very moment you jump out of bed. You know, you can brush your teeth, you can walk around the room, you know, set up your altar if you want to first thing. Yeah, and if you want to take your shemdup off before you go to bed and you're wearing your underskirt and a t-shirt, that's okay. Yeah, you don't go out wearing those things. Okay. Although I must say, I had one teacher when I lived at the library, and he said even in the middle of the night, we had to get fully dressed with our shemdup and our zen to go to the toilet. And the toilets were all public, so you had to walk a ways to do that. We did it, but sometimes if you had to pee really bad, it was a little bit difficult. Yeah. So I think, yeah. How should we hold it? As I was told, only the shemdap is the robe, but based on the teachings I found, okay, when we talk about your three monastic robes, it's your shemdap, yeah, the Chinese call that the 5-strip, yeah, it's your chugu, Chinese call it 7-strip, and for the fully ordained, the namjar, which the Chinese called the 9-strip. Those are the three monastic robes. The donka and the zen are Tibetan add-ons. They are not the three robes, okay? So you always have to have your three robes either with you or inside the sima of where you're staying. While sitting on a chair or sofa, one does not cross one's legs or ankles. You don't cross your legs sitting anywhere, a chair, sofa, doesn't matter. Crossing your ankles is okay. Yeah, I mean, that's very different than crossing your legs and waving your leg in the, yeah. Okay, hands are placed quietly in one's lap. Do I have to confess this as I sit and cross my ankles? No. Okay. We got through them. Okay. So it's good. The person asking these, they're quite detailed and, you know, they involve the etiquette and so on, but it shows that our two new nuns are being very conscientious and they want to learn how, you know, what is the proper way of doing things. Because if you set up these kind of habits right at the beginning of your ordination, then it's very easy. Yeah, if you don't make those habits at the beginning, then you always look kind of sloppy and rude and impolite, you know. So it's very good at the beginning to, you know, to be aware of these small things in daily life. And then, of course, that helps you to be more aware of what you're doing in terms of the big things as well. Okay. And that's what you see so much when you see the Chinese nuns. You know, people have commented on that. There's a certain kind of a way they hold themselves, a certain kind of gracefulness. Yeah. And it's, you know, that gives people a good visualization. Yeah. Yeah. And the Chinese monks also are generally, you know, quite well trained and very courteous, although there's one that we debate with a little bit. We'll tell you about him some other time.